Hey everyone, welcome. This is Jason Clemens, Doctor of Chiropractic at the Rock Health and Wellness Center, and this is Life with Jason Clemens, DC. We are live right here in the Rock Health and Wellness Center studios in Lubbock, Texas. We're live on the radio at 98.7 Walk by Faith, 1420 AM, 987radio.com. We're live on all of our social media pages. The Rock Health and Wellness Center is on Facebook, at Health from the Rock on YouTube, and Jason Clemens, DC on X. I hope you guys had a great weekend. It's Monday, June the 9th, and we had some storms here last week. We got through those. We got through the weekend. Went to the Parade of Homes this weekend. If you guys are familiar with that, nice, beautiful houses that they let you go through and look at and all that sort of thing. Get your brain to see something different. That's why I like to go to the Parade of Homes. It gives me an opportunity to see something different. It's kind of like going to Dallas or taking a trip, to the Metroplex or going to Denver or someplace like that. It's good for your eyeballs to get on something else every once in a while. And the Parade of Homes is one of those things for me that I really enjoy to do, just to get my eyes on something that I don't see every day, because it's good for your brain to mix things up, open your space a little bit, see what everybody else is doing out there in the world. So if you guys enjoy looking at pretty houses, I don't even know what it costs, to tell you the truth, $30, $40 or something like that. But it's worth it, I think, just to go over there and walk through all those and see all the cool stuff that they're doing. And so it was lots of fun to do that yesterday. Got to spend some time with Leslie and Caitlin. And so it was a good day. It was a good day yesterday. Went to church, got us a new Taking Health to Church lesson that we're going to break down a little bit today. And then we've got an article about leg length discrepancy in adolescent and kids. So I thought we would maybe start this. It might take us a little while. The title of it is Impact of Mild Leg Length Discrepancy on Pelvic Alignment and Gait Compensation in Children. It comes out of Gait and Posture, May 2025. So it's right off the presses. And so I think it'd be kind of good to listen to. I had this conversation with one of my ladies today. She said, I haven't seen her in a while, and she came back to see me, and her shoulder was hurting last week, and we worked on her, and her shoulder's better. And she said, you just get older, and then she said, I wish I could come here all the time. And I'm like, well, you can. So it's called the Rock Health and Wellness Center, is because you can come here all the time. And she's like, it's like you just get older, and then you just, all these things start to break down. And I said, yeah, that's why it's important to get children adjusted. And she was like, you can adjust kids? And I was like, yes, we can adjust kids. And it's a great idea to get the kids adjusted so that when they get old, they're not broken down. See, the concept, we've got this wrong. We got this whole thing wrong in the way that we run things in the world. This whole society, this idea that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, fine, but you got to define what broke is, right? And I always think of it as the chain is going to break at its weakest link. When you pull on a chain, you hook a chain up to something, trying to pull a truck out of the mud, and you hook on a tractor and you hook onto the chain, and if that chain breaks, it's going to break at the weakest link in the chain, I think. I don't know. Maybe that's one of those things we say. I don't really know if it really breaks at the weakest link or if it breaks at the highest stress level. I'm not exactly sure, but let's go with the idea that maybe it breaks at its weakest link, right? So when your body has a weak link somewhere and your body gets stressed, you're going to subluxate in a pattern. It means your body, your switches are going to trip in a certain pattern. Your breakers are going to trip in a certain pattern, right? So wherever you have those weak underlying problems, as you move through your 20s into your 30s into your 40s into your 50s, then it's like all of a sudden you got this shoulder problem. It's like, no, not really. You didn't all of a sudden get a shoulder problem. You didn't all of a sudden get a knee problem. Now you can, obviously, right, if you have a trauma, but if just like, I was really active when I was young, and then I got to middle age, and then all of a sudden it's just like, man, it just hurts all the time. And I was like, yeah, because that high level of activity when you were a kid didn't it now you got through your early 20s or whatever. Now you got yourself a job, and now you're sitting at a desk for 5 years in a row, and you're not eating like you should, you're not moving like you should, and then all of a sudden it's like you get to be 30, and it's like, man, look, I feel old, I feel stiff, like my neck hurts, my shoulder hurts, my knee hurts, my hip hurts, my back hurts, whatever. And the truth is, those were your weak links. Those were the areas that could have started when you were 12. They could have started when you were 8. They could have started when you were 3. And it just took 25 more years before it manifested itself into something. So you get those kids checked at an early age, and they have a better chance to address some of those things early and get them corrected before they get into their 30s and 40s and 50s, and then now they're hurting. That's why it doesn't make any sense when parents come into the office, and then they come in and get adjusted, and they leave their kids just sitting there in the chair. It really does. It doesn't make any sense. So that's what the article is going to talk about it. But the conversation today was one of them that was there. Another conversation today that I had that really kind of touched me a little bit, but it's like the person is relatively new to the office. They haven't been here for too long, and we're going through this wellness plan, and they're going through this turbulence right now. There's turbulence at work. There's turbulence with their health. It's really turbulent, and they're frustrated, and they're losing sleep, and they don't feel good, and all those things are happening to them, and they're wanting to know what to do. Should I go back to my doctor? Should I get more drugs? Should I quit taking the drugs? I just feel horrible. I just feel like I just need to go. I just want out of the pain and the pressure. I want out of this situation. And it's like, I really want to encourage the process. It's not, when you're working through wellness, what does Dr. Chestnut say? Eat well, move well, think well. What's the ending of that? When you decide, okay, I think I'm going to try wellness. It's like, all right, how long am I going to try wellness? 11 weeks? Am I going to try wellness for 3 months? Am I going to try wellness for 6 months? I think I'm just going to try wellness for 6 months. It's like, nope, come on now. That's not the way it works. I'm just going to do well things. And what's going to happen in the process of doing well things? We're going to start somewhere lower than we want to start, right? We're going to start down here at some low level. And our goal is to get up here to some higher level. That's what we're trying to get to. Well, it's not linear. This line doesn't just go straight from where you are to where you want to be. That's not the way it works. The way it works is you start up in these first couple of weeks, and you're starting some new things, and you're really excited and all that, and then all of a sudden you hit a little turbulence, and you kind of move down a little, and then you kind of work your way up, and then you kind of hit some turbulence again, and you kind of move down a little, and then you start to work your way up again, and then you hit some turbulence, and then you work your way down, and then you come back up again. It's not linear. It's more of a wave from one place to the other. Right? It's like, look, it's not just a straight line up. It's not the way it works. Health doesn't work that way. You're going to have challenging days. Your body has to adapt. Your body has to figure out how to handle itself without medication. It's going to have to handle itself without this support. It's going to have to learn how to handle itself through stressful things at work. It's physical. neurochemical and mental emotional stress. It's the combination of all those stressors that are challenging us and breaking us down. It's all of them together. And remember that I have a handout. I wish I had one of my notebooks with me handy. I don't have it, but in our handout that we give in the notebooks that we give to all of our new patients, one of the things that we explain is that, to get lasting changes in neurological patterns, you got to have, it's either 30 or 50 hours worth of work. Now, your adjustments are lasting 15 or 20 minutes. So, and part of that adjustment is the adjustment, and part of that adjustment is going into the gym and doing your brain work. But that brain work is going to take some time. It's going to take some time. And what are we doing? What are we doing with the brain? And we've got this low dopamine issue in that left hemisphere. It's going to take some time. We're resetting some of those receptors. We have to down-regulate the receptors or up-regulate the receptors from being down-regulated. And do you understand what that means? Like, because we've talked about that before. Like, I always use the analogy of the Reese's cup. But if I had a bunch of these little dopamine receptors on the outside of the cell wall, I got a bunch of them out there. That cell wall is covered with lots of dopamine receptors because in nature, there's not very many opportunities to get dopamine. So you've got a whole net full of dopamine receptors on those cell walls. Well, when you hit that cell with that first Reese's cup, that when I was a kid, remember, it's like they came in packs and you just got one cup. Like you got your ham sandwich and your chips and your whatever apple or whatever you had in your lunch, and you got one Reese's cup. And then by the time you got to junior high, you were asking mom if you could get 2 Reese's cups. What do you get that? What was happening? What was actually happening was, because you were hitting that cell with all of that dopamine, your brain was removing some of those receptors. It was removing those receptors off the cell wall. So you don't have the ability to have the same receptor experience. So in order for you to have the same experience, you have to increase the hit on the dopamine. Because now I have half as many receptors, right? If I have 100 receptors and they all get one hit, then let's just say that I get 100 dopamines. That's not proper English, okay? But I get 100 Ds. That's what I get, okay? Because I got 100 receptors. But what happens if I take that and I break it down and I decrease that by 50%? Now all of a sudden I've only got 50 receptors. So if I'm going to get 100 Ds out of 50 receptors, I got to hit them twice as hard, right? So now I got to hit this 2 times as hard to get the 100 receptors. I mean the 100 Ds. To get the same amount of dopamine with half the receptors, you have to hit those receptors twice as hard. And when you hit them twice as hard, what do? They downregulate again. It's like, whoa, let's take that one off. Now let's take this one off. Now let's take this one off. And so now what do? Well, we've downregulated it again. So now we only have 33 receptors. Well, if we got 33 receptors and we're trying to get to 100 Ds, what are we going to do? We got to hit it 3 times as hard now. Now it's 3 times as hard to get 3.333, whatever, to get to 100 Ds, right? You see what's happening? That's why the 1 Reese's cup went to 2 Reese's cups But then in high school, it was 4 Reese's Cups. And then when college, it was a bag of Reese's Cups. And then after college, it was a peanut butter slice and bake with the Reese's miniatures in them. And then eat the Reese's that are left over from the bag, because there's more than 36 in the bag. So you can eat those while you're waiting on the cookies to cook. And then you eat the whole plate of cookies. Like, don't tell me I'm the only... I'm the only one that's ever done that, right? It's the first bowl of cereal turned into 2 bowls of cereal, turned into 4 bowls of cereal, turned into the whole box of cereal. The one donut turned into 2 donuts, turned into 2 donuts plus a cinnamon twist, and then 2 donuts plus a cinnamon twist in a bag of donut holes. One bowl of ice cream turned into 2 bowls of ice cream, which turned into 2 bowls of ice cream with cookies all stuffed around them with chocolate syrup all over the top of it. That's where we go. That's where we go. 1 beer turns into 2 beers, which turns into a 6-pack, which turns into a 12-pack, which now I'm drinking a 24-pack. It's like I don't get the same result because I downregulate the receptors. Now, what's going to happen when you decide to do wellness things now? What's going to happen when you say, okay, I'm done with all that? Well, the first thing that's going to happen, if you cut out all the sweets and you cut out all the sugar and you cut out all the alcohol and you cut out all that stuff, in the first couple of weeks of that, what do you have? You have this crash of the dopamine, because you only have a third of the receptors and you're not hitting it with all the sugar. And so now what you're getting, let's say now you're hitting it with 1. You're going back to that 1. Well, so now you've only got 33 Ds. You've only got 33 because you got the third amount of receptors. So when you hit it with 1 now you've got 33 Ds. So what does low dopamine do for you? It makes you feel bad and doesn't give you any energy and any motivation, and you feel like you want to quit. You just feel like I don't want to do this anymore because this sucks. Like, this is stupid. I don't even know why I'm doing this. This whole plan's stupid. Like, this whole deal is stupid. I'd just rather go back to my doctor, get my drugs, and go have my Crown and Coke and eat some Reese's Cups. That's what low dopamine conversations sound like. It's like you're punishing me. Like, what's the point of living? That's what happens so you start a wellness plan, and now you got to go through these. You got to go through this little bit of a phase. So what's your body going to do if you start to decrease all that dopamine hit? Now your brain, after a couple of weeks, it took me about 4. I remember about 4 weeks of no sugar. Then all of a sudden I started to understand. It was like, oh, I see what's happening right here. What happens is your brain decides, hey, dude, put those receptors back on that cell wall. And then it puts the receptors back on the cell wall. See, now I go back to having 100 receptors again. And so what does it take for me to have 100D? Just 1 hit. And where can I get that from? I can get that from nature. I can get that from socialization. I can get that from conversations. I can get that from a good radio show. I don't need the sugar. And people don't understand when you tell them, they're like, well, you're just punishing yourself. And I'm like, I'm not. I'm not punishing myself because my A1C is 5.3. Because my cholesterol and my triglycerides are 41. It's because my homocysteine is down half as what it was. It's like, I'm not punishing myself. I'm not missing anything in my brain because my brain is happy with the interactions that it's getting from nature. Right? So when you start the program, when you start doing wellness things, you got to understand what's happening in your brain. Your brain is readjusting to the environment that it's in. It's called adaptation. Your brain is readjusting to the environment and trying to move you back towards wellness. And it takes a little bit of commitment to do that. It takes a little bit of understanding to do that too, I think. That's part of the reason we have the show. is because I'm trying to share with you the understanding of the process that's going on inside your body. And you just, it's like, okay, I hear what you're saying. All right. So what do I do in the moments that I feel really bad in the transition phase from where I was to where I want to go? What if I'm in one of these little valleys, that what do I do when I'm in one of these little valleys because I feel like giving up? I feel like losing hope. I feel like I should just quit. And it's like, okay, this you're not going to believe what I'm about to say, but what I'm about to say is that what do? Number one, be social. Be social. Number two, go for a walk. Move your feet. Number three, get your eyes up and move them back and forth. That's what you do when you're working on being well. You don't go back to your doctor and get more drugs. You don't go get some alcohol. You don't go buy some sugar. You don't say this is a cheat day and I'm going to go get me a bowl of ice cream or a Blizzard or some sort of bundt cake or something like that. You don't do that. It's like, nope, that's not what I do. I be social. I have a talk with someone, call somebody, go serve somebody, get out there and talk to somebody. And then get on your feet and move your feet. And what will that do for you? It will fire the brain from the right side to the left side and naturally raise your dopamine as you're slowly getting yourself back on track. This is lifetime wellness. This is not microwave wellness. I don't even think there's such a thing, to tell you the honest truth. I don't think there's such a thing as microwave wellness. I think wellness is lifetime. It's like, look, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this forever. I'm just going to start moving uphill. I'm just going to start my journey forward. And I'm going to have some days on there that don't feel good. It doesn't matter if it feels good or it doesn't feel good. We're moving forward with well things. And that's the journey that we're on if you're doing wellness. And you just keep moving and just keep moving and just keep moving. And on those days, understand, hey, this is a little rough. This is a rough day. So that's what I told the lady that I had this conversation with about Donnie Brooks. The defensive back at Texas Tech that taught me this saying. One of the most profound things I've ever heard. It came from Donnie Brooks. Maybe I hope one day Donnie Brooks hears this show. But it's like, because he has no idea. He has no idea in 1992, 93, something like that he said something that I still repeat today because it was one of the most profound things I ever heard. And he said, don't worry about the mules, boys. Just load the wagons. And I was sitting in my locker after practice, had my practice pants on, and I just kicked my shoes off probably. I had my undershirt soaking wet. I just took my shoulder pads off, and it was hot, and I was sitting there after practice. I was all sweating. I remember having my wristbands on, just sitting there, just kind of like, whew, trying to breathe for a second since practice was, we've been out there 2.5 hours or whatever. And when you're 5'11" and 185 and you run a 5 flat 40-yard dash, you're competing for 2.5 hours. So it took everything you had just to be out there with those guys, right? So I'm out there and I get done and I'm sitting in my locker and I'm sweating and I'm tired. And all of a sudden Donnie comes walking by and he's like, don't worry about the mules, boys. Just load the wagons. And I just looked at Donnie and I was like, that's one of the most profound things I've ever heard right there. I was like, holy crap. Like, man, where did he come up with that one? And I've said that time and time again when things just don't seem to be going right and things are stressful and things are just like, it's like, look, this ain't the time to be worrying about the mules. Let's just load the wagons today. I don't know, maybe that makes as much sense to y'all as it does to me, but it's like, look, we don't need an analyzation of it. We just need to We just need to get after it. We just need to like eat well, move well, think well. Be social, move your feet, get to the next day. It's 6:28 right now, right? We're just about to take a break. It's like, look, we just got to get to the break. And then at the end of the break, we'll come back and we'll finish the second half of the show. And then we'll just go home and then we'll have some supper and then we'll go for a walk. And then that'll be it. And we have made it through this day. We don't have to do anything else. If we don't feel good about it, we just keep going. And then in the morning when we get up, we just try it again. And we just keep moving. And I promise you, when you're doing well things, what happens is that those peaks and valleys start to flatten out at the top of that thing. They're not so valley when the closer you get to wellness and the more you get to the top, the more smooth it is, because you're not getting pushed around by all of this wind of change, right? You're not getting pushed around by all this cunning and craftiness of men, as it says. You're not getting marketed to death. You're not getting tricked into all this stuff. It's like those people in Nicoya, Costa Rica, and Ikaria, Greece, and Okinawa, they don't need all this marketing stuff to live to 100. They just move their feet, they be social, and they eat well, and that's what happens. So, all right, that's my motivational speech for the first half of the show. We got to take a break. You got to stick around with us. We'll be right back. We're just gonna touch on a few things about taking health to church. I didn't do a PowerPoint tonight, but we'll just try and see what we can do with it, and then we'll get into that article. That article might last us for a couple of days. So we'll be right back. You guys stick around. Yeah, I hope that makes sense. And I could sure... Hey, John, watching from India. That's awesome, man. Thanks for watching the show. If there's anything we can do for you, please let us know. And if there's anything that you can do for me, then let me know too. So I'd be glad to learn from you. And but it's pretty cool that you're watching it. We're just trying to talk about health and see if we can help people live a life. And it doesn't make any difference what country you're living in. It does. Physiology and neurology is the same, I believe, all over the planet. So thanks for watching the show. Yeah, I get this. It took me 12 years to understand what a subluxation was. Like from the very first time, the very first adjustment until I went to work for my brother-in-law, was a 12-year period of time, and I didn't understand what chiropractic was. I thought chiropractic was this back pain, pop your back, feel better thing. And I had no idea what chiropractic was. And so I can understand the frustration that a person has in the first, in the 11th week, especially when there's massive amounts of stress at work, or there's massive amounts of stress at home, or there's, wherever. If you got all this other stress that's coming along, I can see where it really does cause some, it challenges you a little bit. I've been there. I get it. And I hope that we can encourage you enough to just keep moving through the process. Just keep moving through the process. Just do well things. Do well things and just maybe we could just stretch the time just a little bit. Maybe we don't have to be completely well in 12 weeks. Maybe we don't have to go from way down here at the bottom all the way up to, we don't have to go from here up to here in a 12-week period of time. Maybe we say, if like I'm 54 years old, it's like maybe by the time I get to be 57, like maybe by the time I get to be 60, if I really focus on it this next 5.5 years, by the time I'm 60, maybe I'll get it all kind of straightened out a little bit. And if I can give myself a little bit of time like that and kind of open time and not be so look, I'm doing wellness things. My body's going to figure out how to be well. So hang on, let me get us back on the radio. Okay, everybody, this is Jason Clemens. This is Life with Jason Clemens, DC. We're back for the second half of the show. Thanks for watching. Thanks. We got some people watching from India tonight, and that's awesome. We got some people watching from Waco, some Texas Longhorns watching from Waco as well. So that's cool. But yeah, so on Monday nights, what we do a lot of times is we have this segment called Taking Health to Church. So we go to church on Sunday, and I take notes, and then the whole time I'm listening to the sermon. It's at Hillside Church right here in Lubbock. You could get it online too, but what I do is I take the sermon from Hillside Church and I apply it to health. And so what I want to do for the next few minutes is because there's some really good thoughts, about this as it relates to health. So I want to take health to church for a few minutes. I don't have a full show lined up for it, but I think some of these thoughts are pretty cool. So that's what we're going to do. And then after that, we'll get into the article about the adolescents and the hip, leg length discrepancies. So, but what the church has done, what Hillside Church right here in Lubbock has done for this summer is they've been going through the life of Paul in the Bible. And they've been going through all the writings and all the things that Paul talked about. And I missed the last couple, so I really want to go back and because it's been a couple of weeks since we've had a Taking Health to Church segment on a Monday night. But I want to go back and just and catch up on those. But this particular week, discussing the life of Paul, the question was, what does the Bible say we need to receive eternal life? And I've always known this one. And I had a really interesting experience last week because I listened to Jordan Peterson talk. It was supposed to be a believer and 20 non-believer atheists or something like that. I heard him talk, and they asked him the question, what does it mean to be a Christian? And then he gave this long definition that it did not settle with me. It was like, that's not the truth. And the way that I've learned it, I'll just present it that way. And the question is, what does the Bible say we need to receive eternal life? And it's one thing. It's one thing, and it's one thing only from the Bible standpoint to receive eternal life, and that's Jesus Christ. If you believe that Jesus is who he said he was, which I do, then and he is your Savior, that's your answer. That's your answer. It's not done by works. It's not one of those things that you earn your way to heaven. It's like that's the way, and I knew that was the way from before. So it was a cool set. It's cool to listen to him talk about it and kind of come out on the other end of it. But it was Romans 3:21, and he had 5 words: revelation, condemnation, propitiation, justification, and imputation. And he said, it's kind of funny. He's like, because nobody knows what those words mean. And I was like, yeah, that sounds like a health and wellness talk right there. Nobody even knows what those words mean. And it was known, blown, shown, owned, and sown, basically. And so he got started, and he started talking about Romans 3:21. And that's where he started. So I'm just going to read a couple of these verses, and then we can get into the thoughts that I had. But Romans 3:21 says, But now a righteousness from God, apart from law, has been made known, to which the law and the prophets testify. And he said something right there that I thought was pretty cool yesterday in the sermon. The pastor said, apart from law, and it said not to replace the law. But now a righteousness from God, apart from law, has been made known. God made it known. God sent Jesus here on earth to make it known. That's what happened. To which the law and the prophets testify. This righteousness from God comes through faith in Christ Jesus to all who believe. There is no difference, for all have sinned and all fall short of the glory of God, and are justified freely by his grace through the redemption that came by Jesus Christ. Right? So that's what Paul's talking about. And he's saying that we've all sinned and we've fallen short of the glory of God and are justified. We are made right Adjustment, right? Adjustment. What is chiropractic? What is chiropractic? Chiropractic, to me, is the detection and the correction of the subluxation. What is the subluxation? Sub is less than, lux, and ATION, station, a place. A place less than light. So what do you do when you're subluxated? You get adjustment. And when you add something, you move toward. And this is a place meant what is right and fair. And to me, that's the same thing, because we are the light of the world. And when we're in a state less than light, we have separated ourselves from the life of life that is causing our bodies to go into a state of disorder or disease. That's the subluxation to me. That's what it was explained to me. It's like, look, we're in a state less than light, so we need to be adjusted. We need to be moved toward what is right. And that's the same thing as saying you're justified. It's the same concept right there. There's no difference, for all have sinned and all fall short of the glory of God and are justified freely by His grace. You're justified by His grace. You're healed by His innate intelligence. He didn't give you, He gave you an innate intelligence. That innate intelligence is the Spirit of God in your body. That's the power of healing in your body. That's the idea that the body is a self-healing organism. You cut your finger and you put a Band-Aid on the cut, and the cut heals. Why? What healed it? Did the Band-Aid heal it? No. Innate intelligence healed it, right? That's the grace. That's the Spirit of God in our bodies. That's what I believe. So God presented Him as a sacrifice of atonement through faith in His blood. He did this to demonstrate His justice, because His forbearance, He had left the sins committed beforehand unpunished. He did it to demonstrate His justice at the present time, so as to be just and the one who justifies those who have faith in Jesus. Where then is boasting? It is excluded. On what principle? On that of observing the law? No, but on that of faith. For we maintain that a man is justified by faith apart from observing the law. Is God the God of the Jews only? Is He not the God of the Gentiles too? Yes, of Gentiles too, since there is only one God who will justify the circumcised by the faith and the uncircumcised through the same faith. Do we then nullify the law by this faith? Not at all. Rather, we uphold the law. So, I was listening to that conversation, and I've known that stuff, right? And I was listening to him talk, and I was thinking about how it applies to health. And the pastor he told this story. And he told this story of when he was a young married person, when he first got married. It's like maybe the third year of marriage. And the first couple of years, I don't know. But he said his wife's birthday is somewhere right before Valentine's Day. And so he's like, we have Christmas, then we have my wife's birthday, then we have Valentine's Day, and they all hit like right there together. And he said, I did pretty good at Christmas, taking care of my wife. Then I did pretty good for her birthday, and then we got to Valentine's Day, and I looked at my bank account, and I was like, oh no, this is going to be bad. So I asked her, as he said, what do you want to do for Valentine's Day? And she said, I don't want to do anything. We don't have any money. I understand. Nothing. I don't want to do anything. And he's like, are you sure? And she said, yes, nothing. I don't want a thing. Nothing. And he's like, okay, that's a good idea. So he said, I didn't get anything, nothing. I didn't get her a thing because she said she wanted nothing, and I did exactly what she said. And it was so funny because all the men in the congregation just started shaking their heads. They're like, "Boy, you done messed up there." It's like that's not good. Because we all knew, no, dude, don't fall for that one. That's going to be a bad choice, right? And he knew it too. He was like, but so he said he got to Valentine's Day and he went to work and he came home. And as soon as he walked into the house, and he didn't have a gift, he didn't have a card, nothing. As soon as he walked into the house, he smelled his favorite dinner. And he said, he's like, uh-oh, I've smelled, like, I could smell that, and it was something. And I had done nothing, but she had done something. And he said, I walked in there and she had this handwritten note that she had written out to him, how, about their love and how beautiful it was and all this sort of thing. And she had this favorite supper and she had this handwritten note and she gave it to him. And it was like, he just was sitting there. He's like, what? I thought we were going to do nothing. And she said, well, I just thought we'd get, maybe a little something. We don't have to like spend a bunch of money, but maybe like a little something. And he was like, she's like, did you get me anything? And he's like, nope, I didn't get you anything. You told me you wanted nothing. And he immediately realized he had made a mistake. So he said, hang on a second. So he got up and he went back to the grocery store and he went through whatever cards were left and he found her a card and he found her this 5-foot teddy bear or something and got her some flowers and he brought it back and he said, here, I got you something. But it was the moment. And it was such a great story, the way he told it, because I was just sitting there thinking about wellness and I was sitting there thinking about where's he going with this thing. And it was really good the way he told it, because the way he said it was like, until we realize that we've messed up, we don't think we need to do anything. And then the moment that we realize that we've messed up, all of a sudden, we want to take action. We want to do something. We want to make it right? We now our acts of service, our acts come into play. It's like now our actions come into play because we've realized we've messed this up. And his point was that he was trying to make the point that it's amazing what the grace of God is and what the forgiveness of sins is through Jesus' blood, because there's nothing you can do. It's a gift. It's not an obligation. It's a gift. It's just a gift that's given to you, and you don't have to make it right. But when I was thinking about it from a wellness standpoint, I thought about it and I thought, that's exactly what we do in wellness. People with their health, that's exactly what they do with their health. They don't care. They don't think they need to do anything. And we all have this, I think all of us to some degree have a different level of definition of it. Like we have a different scale by which we determine whether or not we need to do something. There are people that I know that if they gain 5 pounds, they're like, oh my gosh, I've gained 5 pounds. And then they can just shut off the spout and they can just lose the weight right back down to where they were. Like they've been out of high school for 40 years and they're still exactly the same weight as they were then in high school within 5 pounds. Like they have a very, very tight window of their action steps as it relates to their health. Some people have that. Some of us do not have that from a weight standpoint. Some of us it just goes up and goes up and goes up. We just buy bigger pants and bigger pants and bigger pants and bigger clothes and they don't tuck our shirts in and we just keep going, right? Because we don't have that definition. And for those of us in that realm, it's usually some sort of massive health scare that really gets our attention. Like we have the heart attack. Like how many people do you know that lived as if they didn't have to do anything before the heart attack, and then luckily they didn't die of the heart attack, and then after the heart attack, now they're interested in health, right? Now they're going to start to take some action steps on the other side. You get the diagnosis of cancer, and then all of a sudden you start saying, sugar feeds cancer. We don't need to eat sugar because sugar feeds cancer. When you knew dang well that sugar fed cancer beforehand. Like there's that moment. And I thought to myself, what can we learn? What can we learn from the lesson? What can we learn from the lesson of this sermon? In what Jesus was trying to tell Christian people to do. Live as if you have faith in me, so that you don't reach that point where you lose all your righteousness, which you've already done, and I've already taken that away from you. But now live as a champion. Run the race to win. Now that I've done this for you, look, let's run the race to win. Let's now live the way I'm trying to tell you to live. That's what I think Jesus was trying to say to us. He's like, look, I'm trying to tell you that in order to stay away from hell, like you've already been forgiven, you've got your salvation, you've got your eternal life through your faith in me. Now that I took care of that for you, now let's stop living sinfully and let's start living with this idea that we're living like Christ. Like, what would Jesus do, right? Everybody wears the wristbands, but I don't know that they really actually say that, a lot of people. I think what the lesson is in this particular sermon is, I put down, what if in health we moved the definition of blowing it to limit our injuries of blowing it? Like if we were going to say to ourselves, okay, like what is the boundary? Well, I blew it today. What do we do? Right? We start a diet. Here's Monday. How many Mondays have you had in your life? We're just going to start on Monday. And then we're just going to move. We're going to head towards Tuesday. And sometimes we don't even make it to lunch. Sometimes we make it through one day. Sometimes it's not even a day, but something. Let's say we make it to Tuesday, and then like we're in the half of Tuesday or something, and then we blow it. Maybe it's just like, man, dang it, I really messed up. Well, we messed up because we ate a bowl of ice cream. We messed up because we didn't have time for lunch and we just decided we'd go get enchiladas or whatever. We messed up because we didn't plan it out. We're just, oh man, I just had a Coke and a Snickers bar and I didn't have anything else to eat, so I just kind of messed up, right? What if we tightened our definition down a little bit? And this is just a thought that I had in the middle of the sermon yesterday. Like, what if we have already eliminated? What if we've decided that we're not going to eat sugar? Like, that's off the table. So if that's off the table, what would be considered blowing it now? Like, you see what I'm trying to? I don't know if I'm saying this clearly enough. It's like, okay, if I blow it now, then I might have some chips and salsa. Like if I have some chips and salsa today, then I've kind of blown it because I don't eat the chips anymore. And so if I eat the chips, which I have eaten chips a few times, I had some chips this weekend actually. And so but my blowing it just moved my omega-6 level up and not my sugar level. I didn't change my dopamine with the sugar in my brain. I didn't feed the crackheads in my bacteria of in my gut. I didn't mess up. I didn't go all the way out and blow it. I brought my parameters in a little bit so that when I do blow it, I'm not really knocking myself off the wagon. Like I I don't know if it even makes any sense, because I just thought about it yesterday. Because I just was thinking about that. Look, you've been given innate intelligence. We all have been given innate intelligence. We've all been, if we have faith in Jesus, we've been forgiven. So what do we do now? Do we play to win, or do we just act like nothing? Like, I think the best option is understanding, look, you got this gift that was given to you of this innate intelligence in this body. You've got this gift of life. I gave you a gift of life. I gave you the gift of life. You can't boast about it because you're not the one that had anything to do with it. And I gave you this opportunity, and I gave you these resources, and it's like, okay, now that you're not going to be all boastful about it, and it's like as soon as he said that boastful thing, I just started thinking about all the baseball stuff I see these days, and all the ridiculousn's when a kid gets a home run, and how they throw their bat, and that they prance around the bases like they're all somebody. And it's like I was thinking to myself, I wonder who the Barry Sanders of baseball is. I wonder if there's a Barry Sanders of college baseball that even exists anymore. I go watch those guys from Tennessee. They're so cocky, the way that they play baseball, and their coach is so cocky. And it's like, where do you guys get off boasting like that, right? And it'll be not just them, just like, and maybe I do it too. Maybe shame on me, right? So we should humble ourselves a little bit, and now we can say, all right, you know what I think I'm going to do? As I'm going to try to win this day. I'm going to try carpe diem. Isn't that what they said in the movie? Right? I'm going to try to win the day. I'm going to try to move forward in the day, and I'm going to try to win the day. And I'm going to see if I could do that today. I'm going to see if I could do that tomorrow. I'm going to see if I could do that the next day. I know it's taking action. It's taking action. I didn't earn my righteousness that way. My righteousness was a gift. Now, what do I do with that gift? That's kind of what I got from that sermon. If you guys want to go back and listen to the sermon, you can go to Walk by Faith, and you can listen to the sermon. Not Walk by Faith. We're on Walk by Faith. You can go to Hillside, the app on Hillside, or hillside.com, I think it is. Hillside Church in Lubbock. You can find it if you want to. Go back and listen to the sermon. It was really good. It was good to understand where our salvation comes from. It was good to understand where, if you think about it, hey, look, let's grab it and let's go forward with it. Okay? That's what I got from that. That's all I want to talk about. We got just a couple minutes left, so I want to move along. And I want to just introduce this article tonight, and then we'll break it down tomorrow and see where we go with it. This is from Dr. Murphy's Stuff, and so we're going to talk about leg links a little bit. Let's see here. Yeah, so what it says is impact of mild leg length discrepancy on pelvic alignment and gait compensation in children. This study aims to identify gait deviations in children and adolescents with mild leg length discrepancy and examine the relationship between leg length discrepancy severity and lower limb compensatory strategies. So when your hips are off balance and you've got a leg length discrepancy, and we've talked about that on the show before, if you got this, the old stereotypical one leg's longer than the other one. So if you have that situation going on, and there is a leg length discrepancy, or you've got this imbalance in your pelvis, then how do you alter your movement pattern, your gait pattern? How do you recruit muscles in a different way to compensate for the fact that you're off balance? Because there is some compensating going on right there. They took 51 children and adolescents with a mean age of 12 years old with leg length discrepancy up to 3.0 centimeters. Were evaluated with full limb anterior posterior standing radiographs. So now they're actually measuring, and that's what I said the other day. The only way you can really measure if someone has a leg length discrepancy is to take an x-ray of it. You got to take a full length x-ray and actually measure the length of the femur and the length of the tibia and see if there is actually a difference. Pelvic motion and gait compensation were evaluated across 3 groups. The kids that had a 0 to 1 centimeter, the kids that were had a 1 to 2 centimeter, and the kids that had a 2 to 3 centimeter, which were they considered severe. Leg length was calculated based on the femur and tibia lengths. Okay, so this is actual leg length discrepancies, and so Dr. Murphy put a picture in here. He said, below is my college class drawing of the short leg length of former U.S. President John Kennedy. And so it shows what happens when you have a leg length discrepancy. And then there's actually an article, which is super cool. This was in 2017. This was in the Journal of Neurosurgery Spine. And it's John F. Kennedy's back. Chronic pain, failed surgeries, and the story of its effects on his life and death. Now, I don't think it affected his death, but it might have affected his life. So that's where we'll stop for tonight, and then we'll get into it tomorrow, and we'll talk about that. So hope you got something out of that. Thanks for listening to the show. We'll be back tomorrow night at 6. Let me know if I can help you.